Before starting to explain this movie, I want to give brief summary of this movie. This science fiction movie is about a girl Lucy, whose brain capacity is increased above normal level due to a particular drugs injected in her body. Due to this, she started to feel time and space. She is able to control all electrical and magnetic fields. Her capacity increased according to percentage of her brain capacity. When her brain capacity increased to 90%, she was able to do time travel. When her brain capacity reached to 100%, she got complete control of time and space, and she vanishes into space. Okay, now let's start the movie. In this film, the name of the main character is Lucy. Her friend is a drug dealer and a thief. He's carrying a briefcase, and he tells Lucy, "Take this briefcase and go inside the hotel." He says her to go to the reception and ask for Mr. Jang, then he will come and take the briefcase. After this, the work is done. But Lucy says that she have to prepare for her exam. So she has to study. Her friend tries to convince her. Meanwhile, she asks, "What is inside this?" He says that it's some paperworks. She asks to see it, but the man said it's locked and only Mr. Jang has the code. He says he will give her $500 for doing this. But she denies the offer. Meanwhile, he locked her hand with the briefcase and forces her to do the work. He says that he cannot unlock her, as he does not have unlock key, only Mr. Jang has the key. She says she can't believe he did this to her. After this, he gives her $500. Then she enters the hotel and goes to the reception. She asks for Mr. Jang. Receptionist asks her name. She says Richard has sent her. Her friend watches her from outside. Then we see some men coming towards her. She is scared, but her friend shows sign that everything is all right. But suddenly her friend is shot, and he died outside the hotel. The men bribed the hotel staff and took Lucy with them in the lift. Now we see men dragging Lucy into a room. She is panting. The men speaks Korean. Lucy coughs. The men give her a handkerchief. Then the boss appears, covered in blood. He washes the blood. Lucy tries to speak in English and Spanish, but the men were talking in Korean. She says she is just here to deliver briefcase and does not know anything. The boss hires a translator over a phone and talks with Lucy. Mr. Jang asks, "What's in the case?" She says she does not know. She says Richard gave this to her to deliver. Then the boss write the code in the paper and give it to Lucy. They ask her to open the briefcase. All the men hide, leaving her alone. The men were pointing gun at her. Lucy asks the translator, "What is inside the briefcase?" He replied, "There is nothing dangerous in it." When she opened it, she saw 4 blue packets. The boss asked her, "What is inside it?" Lucy replies, "There are 4 plastic pouches filled with blue powder." The men relaxed and came near to Lucy. The boss teared one of the packet and extracted some of the powder. He gave it to a person to test it. When the person inhaled it, he began to laugh. Being irritated by this, the boss killed him. Next, the boss offers her a job. Lucy says she does not want job. Suddenly, a man punches her in the face, and she becomes unconscious. Next, we see a professor giving lecture to students on human evolution. He says that human is at the top of evolution chain, and it is the only animal which uses more of its cerebral capacity. He says that the human uses only 10% of its brain. He says, by using only 10% of its brain, human have achieved so much. Then we see some of major achievements achieved by human, like discovering fire, making airplanes, flying jets, huge army, robotic factories, share market, cash notes, rockets, satellite, nuclear weapons, dams, washing machines, etc. He says, only species which use more than 10% of his brain is dolphin. He says, it is estimated that the dolphin uses about 20% of its brain capacity. This allows dolphin to use echolocation, which is better than any sonar machine invented by human. The scene shifts to Lucy. She wakes up and discovers that her body was operated. She groans in pain. She feels cotton around her stomach. Meanwhile, the man comes and takes her to the boss. She asks the boss, what have they done on her stomach? A person comes behind her, and he speaks in English that they have put the packets inside her stomach. She asks her what was in the packet. The man said it was CPH4 drug. Meanwhile, the men brings another 3 persons. All of them was operated just like Lucy. They gave them fake passports. The boss offers Lucy a drink. The man said to all 4 of them that, if anyone tries to cheat with them, then they have their family addresses. And they will kill them. The men covered their faces with black cloth and drags them. The scene shifts to Professor. He says, living beings have single purpose, gaining time. Each cells in our body has the same purpose. To achieve this goal, mass of the cells that make up earthworms and human beings has only 2 solutions: to be immortal or to reproduce. If habitat becomes unfavorable, then the cells will choose immortality. But if the habitat is favorable, then the living beings will choose to reproduce. Thus knowledge and learning is handed down through time. Again the scene shifts to Lucy, whose head is covered in black cloth. She tries to become calm. Next, Lucy's face is uncovered, and she sees 2 men before her. They have locked her with chain, while one of them tries to be naughty with her. He puts his hand inside her breast. She resisted, and hit him with chain. He becomes angry, and hits her in the stomach. Her stomach bled, the drug packet got torn, and the drug was injected into her bloodstream. After this, the men leave. Next, huge amount of drug is injected into her blood. It made her react, she flies, and stick to the roof, while the chain hold her. Again the scene shifts to the professor. He says, let's imagine what our life would be, if we could use 20% of our brain capacity. He says that, it would give us access, and control of our body. He says some ancient people had access to more than 10% of their cerebral capacity. The professor said, if someone has access to 40% of their cerebral capacity, then they will be able to control another body. Meanwhile, a student asks him, what would happen if someone unlocks 100% of their cerebral capacity? The professor answered, he have no idea. Again, the scene shifts to Lucy. She stands straight and sits in the chair. Contrarily, Lucy's mind is more activated because of blowing up the packet of drugs in her bloodstream. Next, the same man who kicked her abdomen comes near Lucy. When the man comes near her, she hits a blow to that man. Then, taking the gun on the table, she killed him and left the place. She was very hungry. She eats, packs gun, wear clothes, and leave the place. She points gun at taxi driver and orders him to take her to hospital. When the taxi stopped at the traffic light, she noticed she could hear people's phone calls. She reached the hospital. She wanted to remove the drug packet from her stomach. She went inside the operation theater. There a doctor was operating on a patient. She watches brain scan of the patient and points her gun toward the patient and kills him. She says to surgeon that he could not have saved the patient anyway. She asks the surgeon to operate on her stomach and takes out the packet. The doctor offered her local anesthesia, but she denied. During the operation, she talks to her mother over the phone. She tells her mom that she could feel space, people, vibrations, gravity, rotation of the earth, blood in her veins, etc. She tells the memories of her childhood, when she was under 1 year old. She said she could feel pain on her teeth due to braces. Her mother was surprised and asked, "How can you remember such things?" Lucy's mind is more activated, triggering all those memories. She says to her that she loves her and dad. Then, Lucy disconnects the call. Meanwhile, doctors have taken out that packet from her stomach. The surgeon successfully removes the packet. She asks surgeon how much time will it take to release drug injected in her body. The surgeon said he is surprised that she is still alive, to which she replied that she will die soon. Now Lucy goes to the boss, who had sewed the drug into her abdomen. The boss was relaxing in the spa. She took out knives and addict in his hands. She asks him, "Where have you sent the other 3 packets?" But he doesn't say anything. Then, she placed her hands on the brain of the boss, and she was able to connect to his memories, and then she extracted the locations. She found the drug's location in Berlin, Paris, and Rome. After this, Lucy leaves for her house. The scene shifts to Professor, who takes his hotel keys. Lucy reached her house. There she met her roommate. She asks her, can she use her computer? She said yes. She searches through the internet for that professor who has been researching the brain. She found his contact details and then she calls him. The professor laughs, saying the whole research was just a theory and it is not possible practically. She says that she had read his whole research. The professor asks her, "Do you know how many pages I have written?" She replied, "You have written 6,734 pages." The professor is shocked. Meanwhile, she appears on the TV which was in the professor's room. She says him that his research is true. She says that his theory is not just theory. She says she have absorbed large amount of synthetic CPH4 drug that allowed her to use her brain more. She says that she is using 28% of the brain currently. She says she have a maximum of 24 hours. The professor asks her, can she control another organism, to which she replied yes. She says she can control magnetic and electric fields. She says she don't feel pain, fear, desire. She says quantum physics, mathematics, and science knowledge are penetrating inside her. She says she don't know what to do with this knowledge. The professor says, transmit this knowledge to the next generation. After that, Lucy says to the professor, I will come to you within 24 hours. Now Lucy moves to take the other 3 packets. She changed her dress and went to the location. She calls a police officer and said she needs help to catch drug smugglers. She give information of persons carrying drug. The police catches 2 peoples from airport. But the boss's men see this. Lucy is on the plane, she drinks champagne. Here, we see changes in Lucy's body. Her body cell is trying to choose immortality. She quickly went inside the bathroom and consumes remaining drug. EHEC helped her to come in original shape. But due to more drug in her body, it increased her cerebral capacity. Next she wakes up in hospital bed. When she tried to go out, the police officer points gun at her. Here we see she controlled all the officers and she made them sleep. The officer is surprised by this, but she makes him join her in her mission. Meanwhile, the boss men reaches the hospital where drug-carrying people were being tested. They took out drug from their bodies. Lucy drives the car in abnormal way and reaches to the hospital. Meanwhile, Lucy arrives there with the police officer. We see Lucy's superpowers as she makes enemies fly in the air. Here, a police officer supports her. She takes drug packets from them. She is ready to visit the professor. The professor and his companions are waiting for her. One of them tries to test Lucy. Lucy puts her hand in his brain and said that his daughter died in a car accident. She said it was a blue car, with plastic peacock hanging in it. This made them believe her. Lucy reveals information about mathematics and science, which astounds them. She says that she will transfer her knowledge and give it to them. At the same time, the owner of drug arrived there. The police officer says he will not be able to stop them for a long time. There, Lucy shares her knowledge and experience, which she got due to her increased brain capacity. One of the scientists asked her, how did she manage to access all these information? She replied, using electrical impulses. She said, every cell exchanges its information with another cell by electrical impulses. Cells join together, forming giant wave of communication, which forms matter. She says that human beings created scale for easy calculation, but in fact scale does not exist. Even the numbers do not exist in reality. She says, world is not governed by mathematical laws. She gives an example to prove this. She says, if we speed up car infinitely, then it will disappear. She asks, what is the proof of the car's existence? She says, time is the true unit of measurement. She says, without time, nothing exists. In this way, the professor understood that time is unity. Meanwhile, the drug smugglers fires at the police officers, and they start to fight with each other. After giving her knowledge to scientists, Lucy tries to increase her brain capacity by injecting remaining drug. After this, her brain capacity increases to 70%. As a result of this, she is able to convert all electrical devices into a supercomputer. Next, drug inside her body increased her brain capacity to 80%. At this stage, she is able to control space. She changes color of her surrounding space to white. Beside this, she continues to make supercomputer in background. After some time, her brain capacity increased to 90%. At the same time, a drug smuggler fired a bomb towards her. The energy from the bomb helped her to control time. She is able to travel forward and backward in time. She goes back in time and meet ancient people, birds, dinosaurs, and apes. Next, her brain reached to 99%, and at this stage, she is able to go back in time even further. She observes formation of Earth and solar system. She even observes Big Bang. Next, her brain capacity increased to 100%. And, at this stage, she is able to merge into space. When the boss tries to shoot her, she vanishes into space. The drug dealer points his gun towards scientists, but meanwhile, the police officer kills the drug dealer. Then we see supercomputer moving, and it hands over the pen drive to the professor. The professor gets surprised while holding the pen drive. Meanwhile, the policeman asks where Lucy is. Suddenly, he receives a message on his phone that says, "I am everywhere." And the movie ends here. Thank you for your time. Get subscribed for latest updates.